So, this February, we've had a lot of different features and news stories released around social media. I've got some LinkedIn, TikTok, and Instagram updates for you today, as well as discussing influencers, Bluesky, and we'll start by looking at some social media benchmarks that have just been released. So, in the last week, a company called Social Insider has released its 2026 social media benchmarks, and their report looked at average performance based on 70 million total posts across TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and X. I'm not quite sure why they chose those four platforms, maybe because they're probably the four most widely used by businesses. I would have really liked to see YouTube in there, so I'm definitely going to feedback for next year that they include YouTube too. But they looked at different engagement metrics, and interestingly, looking at the average views across platforms, it's TikTok and Instagram. It's TikTok leading the way there. So you can see TikTok are very much in number one position there on average views. So average views that TikTok posts are getting have increased by 3% in the last year. So if your strategy is to get more video views, TikTok is absolutely a platform to be considering. Looking at likes, I know a lot of you do look at your like metrics as a really good indicator of whether or not your content is being well received by your audiences. And as you can see there, TikTok videos do tend to get the most likes of all of the social platforms as well. So the average likes on TikTok have increased once again. Its average number of likes per post has increased by 12%. And you can see just how small some of the other platforms are there. So we've got going across Instagram, Facebook, and X. And it really is TikTok leading the way there in terms of likes. What about comments? Comments are traditionally a pretty tricky thing to generate these days in social media because most of us prefer to engage privately through DMs rather than leave a public comment on a person or a brand's social media. And you can see there again, it's TikTok leading the way in terms of comments. On TikTok and Instagram, there has been a decrease in comments over the last year, which does not surprise me given the predictions that we are moving towards a more private social media conversation and discussion era. You can see there, though, that Instagram and Facebook, which are in the 2 and 3 positions there, are quite similar in terms of comments and how many they tend to drive. But again, it's TikTok leading the way. Looking at shares, no surprise there again, it's TikTok, and shares have increased across all platforms. So, good news, we are seeing more shares happening on Instagram, Facebook, and X as well. But it is TikTok that tends to get the most shares. And then, in terms of posting frequency, you can see that brands post on average 5 posts per week on Instagram and TikTok. There is a massive jump here for X. You can see on X that is leading the way in terms of how many posts there are being made. And that's very typical of X. It's always been that way with Twitter, where you do seem to post more there if you are active on the platform. You can see on Instagram and TikTok, it is a lot less, a lot fewer posts than on Facebook and X. However, 5 posts per week does seem to be a good activity level to go for. And that seems to be what a lot of brands are aiming for as well. Remember, this is based on 70 million posts that they are analysing, and they haven't specified exactly which region, but I'm going to assume it's the US because that's where a lot of these companies do tend to analyse their data across. So you do have to take these studies with a little bit of a pinch of salt, But I think it's really interesting to see that TikTok has managed to retain its crown as being the place where a lot of people are seeing the most engagement right now. So, update number two is that Instagram is now letting you control your Reels algorithm. So, you may have spotted this one. There was a bit of noise about it at the beginning of January time, or yeah, over the last couple of weeks, I should say, losing track of where we are in the year. But Instagram has slowly been rolling out the opportunity to actually tailor what kind of content you're beginning to see in your Reels feed. Remember that the Reels feed is where you head straight into the Reels tab at the bottom of Instagram and you swipe your way through video only. So it's the video only experience. This is different to the main feed where you might see carousels, you might see single images as well. In this place, you're just seeing Reels content. And the majority of what you see in your Reels feed is from brands that you're not following. So the idea is that sorry, I say brands there, but it could be creators as well. But the idea is that you're in discovery mode. You're discovering new people, new businesses, new creators that you haven't heard of before, but Instagram is recommending them to you because it feels that you are going to be most interested by these based on your previous experiences and activities. So Instagram has been rolling out this new button. If you look carefully in the top right hand side there, you'll see it, two little levers with tiny hearts on, cute little logo there. And if you tap on that, you'll be able to open up this new page which says your algorithm. It then gives you some suggestions of what it thinks you're into. So lately you've been into crafting online content, trying new, I think that said food and drink. I'll have to watch that again. Let's watch that again briefly. Trying new restaurants and exploring charming spots in South London. So I can then change what I want to see. I can move it to see fewer items of that particular category, and I can opt in to see more of something. So this is a move from Instagram to help you really shape the content in which you're seeing, to help you have more control over your experience. Some say it's more of a kind of PR move from Instagram, but others say actually it's really useful to be able to tell Instagram more easily what you like and what you don't like. I think as a starting point, it's just really interesting to see what Instagram thinks you're into as well. And so do go and have a look at that, and you can find that by clicking on that logo on the top right hand side of your Reels feed. Now, this one's got a few people panicked, I think. I actually had quite a few messages from clients of ours or members of Avocado Social asking me, what are these new ad-free notifications I'm getting when I go into Facebook and Instagram? So I'm sure you would have seen one of these if you're based in the UK. Meta started rolling out their new subscription last week, where they were offering people the chance to subscribe to a no ads and ad-free environment on Instagram and Facebook. So this has actually been in the making for a few months now. They announced they were going to do it last September, and we included it in our update last September. But it's interesting to actually see it come to fruition. It's $3.99 a month in the UK to subscribe to start to use Facebook or Instagram with no ads. And as I said, a few of our clients were getting a bit panicked about this. You know, suddenly is it going to be a really bad place to run ads that people not going to see our content? But actually, the thinking in the industry as a whole is that this won't get much uptake. We're not expecting this to have a big impact on overall ads reach on Meta. A lot of people who are that concerned about ads will already be using an ads blocker. And so I don't see a huge amount of uptake. Again, it's another way for Meta to see if it can make some revenue from subscriptions rather than relying on just ads. And also, again, the cynic in me says it's another PR move by Meta to allow users to feel like they've got more control over how they are using Facebook and Instagram. So I'm not too concerned about it at all. But if you are, then a really good thing to keep an eye on is your ads reach. So look at your old campaigns that you've run in the past, look at what kind of reach you're able to achieve, and see if there has been an impact on that within the last week. So if your ads reach is suddenly hitting a lot fewer people than it was before, then you could take that as a suggestion that maybe more people are subscribing to this than we first thought. But so far, and talking to a lot of ads experts, nobody's really worried that this is going to have a major impact on advertisers. So, LinkedIn is becoming a major AI content source. And what I mean by that is if you are using AI as a generative search platform, so ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude, and you're asking these AI bots or AI tools, I should say, questions that are then throwing up responses for you. Those responses are taken from certain sources around the internet. And so far, we know that Reddit has always been a major source for these platforms. But actually, SEMrush, which is a great resource to look at for this sort of information, has recently found that LinkedIn is now the second most cited source for AI chatbots, including ChatGPT, Google's AI mode, so Google Gemini, and Perplexity, trailing only behind Reddit. So, this was a big trend that their data spotted towards the end of last year. And AI models are now citing LinkedIn 4 to 5 times more than they previously did, with Perplexity in particular citing it 5.7 times more frequently. So I think this is a really, really interesting indicator that your content that you're producing for LinkedIn not only has authority within the platform itself, but could also now affect your traffic and your brand awareness through platforms like ChatGPT and Google's AI mode. So we're seeing a huge shift in the way that SEO works. And if you're not already thinking about GEO, as it's sometimes called, generative engine optimization, so that's optimizing your content so that it does appear in ChatGPT, Perplexity, etc., then I will say if you're not thinking about this, you will get left behind because this is something that so many marketers are now investing a lot of their thinking behind. Now, why are AI systems appearing to favor LinkedIn? Well, there's a few things that LinkedIn offers that AI really likes. They like to see verified profiles. So these are profiles of people who have authority, they've got a lot of followers, or maybe they're companies that have gone through the verification process on LinkedIn and have the tick behind their profiles. They also like to see profiles that have up-to-date career histories because that's a good indicator of AI of high authority and trust as well. So AI loves to see when a profile has trust behind it. So followers of a profile is really, really important in LinkedIn, as well as a well filled out company history. On top of that, of course, you need to be posting content to LinkedIn in order to be found in the search results. So posting articles is a really great strategy. So that could be a newsletter format, or it could be one-off articles that you host on your company or your personal profile. And those articles should be well written for SEO. So looking at things like keywords and phrases that you want to be known for, and also covering topics that you know your audience would be searching for as well. You can see here in this study from SEMrush that LinkedIn is a top AI source and that it has had a steady rise across all platforms. AI consistently cites LinkedIn in nearly 15% of its responses. It dipped briefly in early September, but it's quickly recovering. That was Google AI mode, sorry. And ChatGPT and Perplexity cited LinkedIn slightly less often, but also trended upwards after the timing of the Reddit and Wikipedia drop. I've had a lot of inquiries this year about Reddit. And so I think maybe not putting all your eggs in one basket, but really thinking about how you can create SEO friendly content across a variety of different platforms. But I do think LinkedIn is a fantastic place, particularly if you're a B2B company, to be sharing insight, particularly insight that signals credibility and relevance, authored by real experts, clearly time-stamped, and written in a insight-driven style as well. So here's some great examples of that. I follow a CEO called Nicholas Thompson, who is the CEO of The Atlantic, publishing digital paper. And also, Nicole Mezaselma is a great person to follow, who's a senior social media consultant at Batten Hall. Both are sharing really insightful, really credible updates on the tech and social media industries. Lots of keywords in their content. AI loves to see well formatted content as well. And because of their follow accounts, they're likely to be used as a source within AI content as well, within those AI searches. So we're going to be thinking a lot more about AI and GEO throughout the year. So if you've got any questions about that and how your social media content should be better optimized for things like ChatGPT, then certainly do get in touch with your questions. I was speaking at a conference yesterday for hotel marketers, and they have really seen such an increase in people using ChatGPT for hotel recommendations, for travel itineraries. So a big part of their focus this year is how to get cited more within ChatGPT. And it's really interesting to see some of the tactics that work very well, including getting more social media content out there that's highly credible, and also getting cited and linked to from a lot of digital PR publications as well. So that's really, really important. But yeah, happy to share more about my findings and learnings for anyone who has a question on that. Now, this story has been going on for a while, it feels like, but TikTok has finally had a US buyout update. So, following years of legislative pressure, ByteDance finalized a deal to separate its UK operations from its Chinese based. And the new entity called TikTok USDS Joint Venture LLC, catchy name, is now 80% owned by non-Chinese investors, with ByteDance retaining just under 20% stake. The key investors in TikTok US are Oracle, so the security partner and cloud provider, Silver Lake, which is a private US equity firm, MGX, which is an AI-focused investment firm from the UAE, and other investors include the Walmart family and the Dell family as well. So interesting to see who's come together as this conglomerate that has purchased TikTok US. The new entity licenses the recommendation algorithm from ByteDance, but controls the US data and moderation policies independently. And I must say, there has already been a lot of backlash around this. So, TikTok has updated its privacy policy. It's explicitly acknowledged the collection of precise location data and financial information, sparking suspicion amongst users, given the political connections of the new owners. So, just to let you know that the owner of Oracle is a prominent supporter of President Trump. Also, there was a technical collapse. So, shortly after the transfer, there was a big power outage at a key US data center managed by Oracle, which triggered a cascading systems failure. So, you may have seen a lot of US TikTokers saying the app's shut down. You know, as soon as it's launched, it's failed. We've seen a lot of service issues, so users experienced upload failures, timed out responses, videos receiving zero views despite having large followings. So basically, a lot of issues. The latest status, as of February the 2nd, announced that the infrastructure issues caused by the storm have now been resolved and the network has recovered. But there have been some kind of long-lasting damages, I would say, from the initial launch of TikTok US. So a lot of people are worried about this privacy policy update. Um, it's potentially going to be taking more data from US users. So we've seen a lot of people saying they don't necessarily feel like it's a safe app to be on. We've also seen a lot of kind of high profile users accusing the new ownership of suppressing certain content like anti-Trump or anti-ICE content. So there's potential censorship controversy happening as well. And given some of the new owners of TikTok, this could potentially be happening. We've also seen a lot of people just essentially saying the platform itself is censoring content critical of Trump. I'm not sure whether that's the case or not, but there hasn't been, an amazing response to US TikTok so far. Let's hear what tech journalist Max Foster has to say about the issues.
What you see on TikTok is about to change, particularly if you're watching from America. And that's because the US version of the app is now under the control of a separate US company. That means that TikTok isn't now going away in America, but it also means that the experience you get, particularly in America, is going to change, but potentially in other countries too. The reason for that is that under this deal, the US is going to retrain its algorithm based on the data of American users. Because it's using a different data set, that will change the content that users are being fed. It may also give a bump or indeed a slump to creators because different content is effectively going to be pushed through. It may also affect users outside America because so much content comes from America and the whole data system is being changed in the global TikTok. What you see on
So we're entering a brave new world on TikTok. Thank you, Max Foster, reporter at CNN, for that. And so as a marketer, what I would certainly be looking at is your data. There's not really much more you can do other than analyze how well your videos perform and are performing as of February, because that's when new TikTok was launched in the US. So, as Max quite rightly said there, we don't know what this is going to look like. Maybe it will give your content a bump. Maybe it will give your content a slump. And we're not sure because we don't know how the new algorithms on TikTok US are going to work and how much UK-based content will reach US audiences. If you are trying to promote content to a US audience, I'd be particularly interested in the reach and engagement rates of your content on TikTok. If you're very UK focused, I would assume that your content won't be largely affected, but the only thing we can do is keep an eye on your stats. So, of course, there are some TikTok alternatives to watch out for this year, and a few have been kind of quietly creeping up the App Store. The first is called Skylight, which is a TikTok alternative. Looks very similar to TikTok. It's a short form vertical video app, and it was launched last year. The platform, though, is built on AT protocol, which is the same decentralized technology that powers Bluesky, which means that it's not owned by one rich tech billionaire. It's actually owned by the masses, and it allows it to stream videos from Bluesky as well, and ensures it operates on open and transparent standards. So Skylight has now surpassed 380,000 users. adding roughly 20,000 new users over a single weekend in January. And this influx of users was triggered by the finalization of the deal, including TikTok US. So users have moved to this safer platform, and the CTO shared that they had seen an 150% increase in signups. So it'd be interesting to keep track of this app and see how it does perform. So Skylight Social is one to keep an ear out for. Another one is called Up-Scrolled. This is being kind of dubbed as a mixture of Instagram and X. So Up-Scrolled has surpassed 2.5 million global users. Again, a big increase in January, in early January, with 150,000 was their starting point, and now they're at 2.5 million. So they've seen a huge surge in users. And again, that was down to TikTok US ownership structure, which drove people to explore these alternative networks. One thing that did catch our attention is where they say on their homepage, shadow banned elsewhere, not here, up-scrolled as the social media platform where every voice gets equal power. No algorithmic games, no shadow bans, no pay-to-play favoritism, just authentic connection where your content reaches the people who matter most. So it's really interesting to see how these newer social media networks that are coming out are very focused on the fact that they're not going to be algorithmic based. They're not going to favor certain types of content over others. They're trying to create a much more fair opportunity for people to generate views, no matter how many followers they have. So I do think that's certainly a trend that we're seeing in any new apps and tools that are coming out. I would say at this point, these numbers are pretty small when we compare them to the reach possible on Meta platforms or TikTok itself. So it's not something that I would advise you to be on as a business at this stage. But if you're interested and you want to experiment, then it could be worth signing up on a personal account just to get to know some of these TikTok alternative platforms a little better. Talking of newer social media platforms, Bluesky is releasing a lot of new features this year. It's interesting to see how they're really maximizing on the negative press attention that X has had, particularly since some of the Grok issues that we've seen lately of Grok being X's AI tool, creating very worrying and damaging content. So a lot of people are looking to alternatives like Threads and Bluesky. At the moment, Bluesky, who just released their 2025 transparency report, have reported 42 million users. They've grown 60% since last year. And they are now creating more posts within the app as well. So users created 1.4 billion posts last year, representing 61% of all posts ever made on Bluesky. So last year was a really strong year for Bluesky. And actually, I've been talking about Bluesky a lot more with some of our charity clients, more B2B organizations interested in Bluesky, and also political figures as well. So there's quite a few MPs moving over to Bluesky now, which is really interesting to see. So I do think it's kind of pitching itself as a very strong contender as an alternative to X. What's going on with other platforms? Well, according to Meta's official numbers from August 2025, Threads has now got over 400 million monthly users. So 400 million compared to 42 million on Bluesky. So Threads very much is leading that fight. But if you think about how much of Instagram supports Threads, I mean, they have such a great user base there where they can send people on Instagram notifications about what's happening on Threads and move people between the two apps very, very easily. So it was quite a straightforward way for them to build that audience. It's really hard to get any accurate and recent figures for X and their size, but they have said that they have 557 million users worldwide, we don't know how many of those are active. If you look at this graph, it shows you the differences between X and Threads, and you can see that last year Threads did overtake X according to SimilarWeb. So I spoke about this in our last month update, but we have seen a lot of clients kind of finally hang up their hat with X, and rather than kind of checking in on it every now and again, quite a few people have actually just said, "Do you know what, we're just not even going to check it anymore." I had 2 clients remove the link from their homepage to X as well. So really interesting to see a lot of businesses just saying, yeah, we've had enough of it now. We don't trust it, or we don't think that we look trustworthy if we're going to be on it as well, which I think is really important. So moving on to the new features that are coming to Bluesky, I think from talking to people in the industry, one of the things that a lot of people who still use X say is that X still has that edge of being the breaking news platform, or the place where you go to find out something that's happening in real time. And interestingly, Bluesky are really going to try and capitalize on that this year. So they are rolling out an experimental feature that allows users to display a live badge on their profile avatar when they are streaming. Live streaming is now becoming more prolific within the app as well. And you can hook up Twitch and also Streamplace, which is an app built on Bluesky's underlying AT protocol. So 2 kind of well-respected live streaming apps can be hooked up to your Bluesky account. Bluesky is also rolling out more specialized hashtags for niches. So for example, they've just brought out a specialized hashtag for finance to try and encourage kind of more financial discussions around the stock market on the app, which again is traditionally something that X was always used for. And then they're also talking about integrating things like a real-time events feed, which is to better handle live moments like sport or elections. So really feels like they're making a play on old school Twitter. And the goal is to make these feeds feel less like scrolling and more like hanging out. So I think with things like the Rugby World Cup, Football World Cup, and any kind of big elections happening this year, Winter Olympics as well, I think that will be really interesting to see how Bluesky capitalizes on those big events. They've also they're planning to upgrade their composer to support videos longer than 3 minutes, faster uploads, posts containing more than 4 photos at a time, and easier creation of thread chains. So there's a lot more kind of UX as well that's coming to Bluesky this year. So again, if you haven't already started kind of playing around with Bluesky, definitely worth having another look this year and just seeing what the opportunity is for your business. Okay, so you may have heard this one in the news, but yes, of course, there are some ads that are going to be coming to ChatGPT. They had to start making some more money out of it soon, because as a platform to run, it is hemorrhaging money. So OpenAI, which is the company that owns ChatGPT, announced that it plans to start testing ads in the US in the coming weeks. It will affect users on the free service, as well as subscribers to the lower cost tier called ChatGPT Go. Adverts will not be shown to pro users, business users, or enterprise subscriptions. So interesting that the first advertisers on ChatGPT have been asked to commit, wait for it, $200,000 as it begins rolling out ads. So if you want to advertise on ChatGPT, you need an advertising budget of at least $200,000. Now, of course, that's going to be not a drop in the ocean for some businesses out there, but I think for most of us, that is a pretty hefty commitment to make. But as a social media marketer who runs a lot of paid advertising, I was thinking yesterday, actually, this is really interesting because probably before the next 5 years, I'm going to have to learn ChatGPT ads. I'm sure it's something that will be a self-serve platform before long, where we run our own campaigns on ChatGPT through some sort of ads manager. So interesting to see that they're looking to test that in the next few weeks. You can see some examples there. So the sponsored ads will show kind of towards the end of your results. It's not going to be integrated actually as a result, but those ads will kind of just appear at the bottom, like display advertising across many of the platforms that we know. And also, the ads aren't going to read your conversations and your queries either, but they're going to be based on interests that you've indicated that you have. So I'm sure it will probably be looking out for certain keywords, maybe even certain things that you click on from ChatGPT, but it won't be reading your conversation either. So interesting to see how those will look, and we'll certainly keep you updated. Okay, so this one caught my eye recently, and this was based on Meta's Q4 2025 earnings results. But Meta says that nearly 10% of the reels people view each day are now created in the Edits app. So that's almost tripling the amount from last quarter. A lot more people are using Reels now in order to enhance their video content on Instagram. It's free to use as an editing platform at the moment. That's not to say that it won't be free forever. And they seem to be developing it and adding new features to it all the time. So let's take a look at some of the most recent ones. So the first is that you can add multiple takes of your audio and video clips to your storyboard. Storyboard is that area of edits where you can actually plan out your video. You can easily pick your favorite clips when you move from storyboard to editing as well. So it's just making that kind of flow of building a video really, really easy. You can copy and paste elements like fonts and clips from one project into another or within the same project. So this is rolling out on iOS this week. And this is a really nice feature because it means you can create series content that looks consistent very easily. There's more video effects. So we've got bounce, fisheye, blackout, and more. So that's again just stuff that they are building out. More timeline settings. So click on your project name to see an expanded setting menu, and that allows you to quickly toggle for guides, frames, snapping, and how your edits are applied as well. So just loads more enhancements in there. You can also make your videos interactive by adding links to an Instagram account or link an existing reel. I love this feature. So if you've got a previous reel that you wanted to reference, or you want to reference someone else's Instagram account, you can do that with an interactive sticker that's only available in edits. So I love that feature and think that's a really nice way of kind of tying together series content. Or in our case, we do a lot of videos on Instagram where we are picking great case studies. So we could actually link to people's reels really, really easily there. Weekly ideas as well. So you can get inspired with new ideas based on the reels that you've shared. This is obviously using AI. You can scroll through 10 fresh ideas each week that Instagram's AI is giving you. So all in all, they're looking to make video creation much, much easier and remove those barriers of entry, make it quicker, so we don't need as much video resource and man hours as we used to have. So if you haven't already explored Instagram edits, I would certainly recommend you do so. Okay, our final update for you today, which is around influencers and some of the improvements that are coming to the Meta Creator Marketplace. So Meta has recently announced that they are updating their Creator Marketplace. If you don't know what that is, it's their website you can go to where you can find creators on Instagram or Facebook that are kind of pulled together based on location, interests. You can now find people based on interactions. So you can see if they have previously engaged with a brand. You can see if they've tagged a brand in content or have expressed interest in partnering with a brand. You can also find similar creators. So once you find one, businesses can now search for new partners who share characteristics with creators they've successfully worked with in the past. You can look at performance predictions. So Meta has introduced recommendations for creators with advertising experience who are predicted to drive high performing ads. This is something I've been talking about this week, just the power of partnership ads and how running ads in collaboration with creators is one of the best things you can do in advertising right now across Meta. They get really great engagement rates. And so if you haven't tried those partnership ads, I would strongly recommend that you do so. There's also some other things like they're expanding Creator Marketplace to 19 new countries. There's now a specific badge that identifies creators that Meta's system estimates will generate strong results for a specific brand's campaign. And a refreshed homepage now displays creator recommendations alongside clear explanations for why each creator was suggested. So it sounds a lot better than it was. I remember using Creator Marketplace a couple of years ago and thinking, oh, this is really not great. So I'm really excited to explore it and see the new updates. I think there's a few things at play here. It indicates the fact that they've just relaunched this. It's indicating their commitment to creators. So Meta has realized that if you get the creators to come and use your platforms, the users come too. So that's where they're trying to offer so many partnerships or affiliate offerings or ways that content creators can work with brands because they want their creators to continue to use platforms like Instagram in order to make money. I also think that this indicates the influencer marketing or creator partnerships. They are certainly not dead at all. And they can really, really help your business to reach new audiences and create better content as well. So I am really excited to see Meta relaunch their platform. I mentioned there that I don't tend to use Creator Marketplace that much. We actually are huge fans of Jolly at Avocado Social, so we pay for a subscription to Jolly. And Jolly, if you haven't discovered it already, it's a fantastic influencer marketing platform for hospitality. So we use a lot of Jolly influencers for our hospitality clients, and we know that a lot of our hospitality clients, restaurants, pubs, festivals, they love the platform too. So it's a great way to discover new creators to help you create better content and reach new audiences. So if you would like an introduction to Jolly, then just let us know. We'd be really happy to organize a demo for you. And this isn't a sponsored link. Okay, so as always, I like to end the sessions with a little bit of fun content for you, a little bit of content inspo. And one of the things that keeps cropping up for me, and I don't know about you, is this penguin walking through the ice field. I don't know why this started trending, but it's certainly a visual trend that a lot of brands have used over the last couple of weeks. It doesn't seem to be going anywhere either. So it's actually a clip from a 2007 documentary, which is taking over social media, showing a penguin walking away from its colony towards the mountains located 70 kilometers away. This particular video or image, a lot of people are using AI to create that, like the Mini Eggs and Pizza Hut examples there. Let's take a quick look at this footage from Mini. So I don't know why it's trending, but a lot of people are using the penguin in the ice field. Also, the 2016 Instagram feed trend, which I mentioned in our January update, still seems to be referenced. And I actually spotted this video this week from the European Commission, which I thought was a brilliant play on creating an entertaining and educational video. So they've actually taken this trend as a way to talk about some of the privacy laws here in the EU. Here we go. We walk on the sidewalk. So they've said you can bring back your 2016 chronological feed as the default setting in the EU there. What else is new in socials? Well, we've been keeping an eye on Waitrose, and we really like the way that they've approached their new advert called The Gastronaut. So you might have seen it on TV, but they've also used it really well across social, both on their main brand account, but also on some of their location-based store accounts as well. So thinking about ways that they can incorporate what's kind of covered in the advert and using their staff to promote these messages. If you haven't seen the ad, let's take a quick look at it now.
Time to eat your fuel, Michael. Time to eat your fuel, Michael. Time to eat your fuel, Michael.
May I trouble you for the wine menu?
There is no wine menu.
No, it's a joke. Oh.
Ha 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 ha.
Wow, this thing. Just too cute. Why'd you smile? One day, dreaming, I could spend my life in the city.
Understand show hunger. Time to refuel. What are you doing, Michael?
I'm going home. I'm just picking up some bits of dinner.
Brilliant. So that's been very well received across social media. And my colleague Sarah commented it's very similar to a John Lewis ad. It has that sort of feeling around it, nostalgia, kind of you recognize yourself in the characters as well. So fair play, Waitrose. That was a really great launch across multi-platforms there. Right, we've got 5 minutes or so to answer any questions that you've had. So I'm just going to have a quick scroll through the chat and see if anything has been asked that I can answer right now. Dan, hi Dan, nice to have you with us. The catch to an ad-free environment is if you subscribe to it, you cannot boost your posts anymore. That's interesting. I didn't know that one, so thanks for letting me know. Yasmin said, I've certainly noticed my feed becoming more UK only creators. I'm guessing that was when we were talking about TikTok. So that's really interesting that you've noticed more UK content on TikTok lately, which I guess is good if you're based in the UK, gives you more reach. Holly says, would Skylight be good for B2B? I think it's a bit early days to say yet. I personally haven't tried out the app myself yet, but I plan to over the next week or so. So I would recommend having a bit of a play around and just seeing what you think. But typically B2B kind of tends to come last to these platforms. Oliver, at what point do you decide a new platform is big and relevant enough to jump on? I would say once you can confidently say that your audience is there and that it's worth the time and effort you putting into it. Eleanor says, we're regretting not copywriting that butterfly logo here at the Butterfly Conservation. Oh, yeah, I bet, because that's obviously Bluesky's logo as well. So yeah, I will forever think of the butterfly conservation now when I look at Blue Sky. Are you guys on Blue Sky? I'm interested to hear. Patricia says, is there much engagement on Threads? Um, it's hard to say because they haven't brought out like standard benchmark results yet. I see some brands who get huge engagement on there, particularly consumer brands. But it does take a lot of effort to get that engagement. I think you do have to commit to posting to the platform quite regularly. And also, definitely brands that seem to have more of a humorous tone on Threads seem to be performing well at the moment. So, one to watch. And then just a bit of chat about the use of Threads there. So yeah, it's hard to say like whether it absolutely works for your niche or not. I think what you've got to do is start to use it yourself from a personal account, and then you can hopefully um, start to understand a bit more about whether or not there's an opportunity for your business to be there. And then one more question. We're not on Blue Sky. Would you think it's a service? Would you think it would work for a service-based company? I'm not sure. I'm a service-based company and I have been testing it out lately. I don't see much engagement there at all. So it's hard to say. I mean, you can certainly try a few posts and see whether your audience is there. I think one of the things about Blue Sky is there are quite a lot of like niche interest groups there. So in the tech space, for example, like I said, there's quite a lot of political people there. So I would try and first of all do some research and see, okay, when I type in these particular phrases and words, is there content that's actually coming up in Blue Sky search? And also look for influencers in your industry and see whether they're using the platform well. Nina, hi Nina, says we don't have much of a following on LinkedIn yet. Should we post from the company page to build rapport or our own personal accounts? I would say both, Nina. It works really well if you have a company page for credibility. A lot of people would like to reference that company page just to check maybe when they're doing their research that your company does have good, you know, information about it on there. But then personal accounts are one of the best ways to grow on LinkedIn at the moment when you can get your workforce creating content about your company and preferably tagging in your company. That is a strategy that works really well. And then Hannah says, what do you think about public sector? Would Threads Blue Sky be worth exploring? Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think I would have a look on Blue Sky. I did a conference last year, at the end of last year, about Blue Sky for charities and public sector organizations. And I was really surprised how many of them are using Blue Sky in particular. So I think my conclusion to all of these questions about alternative X platforms is do your research, go and have a look, see who's on there. Ask ChatGPT to pull up some lists of public sector organizations in the UK who are active on Blue Sky. You know, see who's already using the platforms. Okay, I'm going to leave it there for today. I've just seen one more question come in. Do you think doing a first comment on Instagram is still effective, especially if the first comments are all hashtags? No, I don't think that does work anymore at all. We've moved on from hashtags now. Even the Instagram CEO has said that hashtags are no longer effective for reach on the platform. If that's what you're looking for, if it's for reach. So my answer to that would be no. Okay, I've mentioned a few times throughout, if you would like to contact me, you're always very welcome to. Here's all my details. If you'd like to tag us in any posts today, you're very welcome to. I always love to see deskies or desk selfies of whereabouts you're watching from in the world. So do let us know. Also, as you know, reviews are incredibly important, particularly to small businesses like ours. If you do have a few minutes just to leave us a very quick Google review, that would really help us grow. We'd love to hear your thoughts on today's session. And also, those reviews are ranked within ChatGPT as well, so can be very helpful for us in terms of our GEO strategy. So, as always, keeping things topical. Okay, if you need to catch the recording of today's session, it will all be going up on YouTube before the end of the week. So keep an eye on our YouTube channel as well. And I really hope to see you all next month for another month of crazy social media marketing updates. Thank you so much, everyone.